Hello, everyone. Welcome back to A Course in Miracles 365, Awakening to Love. I'm Reverend Tomas Garza, and thank you all for all of your recent views, the recent subscriptions. I very much appreciate it. And as always, beyond the views, beyond the subscriptions and the emails and all of that good stuff, because it is good stuff, of course it is. I appreciate your commitment to your practice, your commitment to truth. It's the highest form of offering you could ever possibly make. So that's what I really, really appreciate. This is why I'm doing this. It's why I turn on a camera and microphone so that I may use this image that you see before you here on your screen to communicate with you. Where we are here is we're going through the two pamphlets, the supplements to A Course in Miracles. And the first is called Psychotherapy, Purpose, Process, and Practice. And today we're going to look at checking our motivation, just really being very honest with ourselves for our motivation in engaging in whatever it is we're engaging in the world, in life. Where we are exactly is, well, we're at part 2, the process of psychotherapy. And today we're going to take a look at the introduction. It's only a few paragraphs, and it's reading that can be easily accomplished in a short period of time. And I invite you to go back a second time. And if you have time, a third and a fourth. Repetition. Yeah, right? So we looked at the purpose of psychotherapy here. Now, what I mean by psychotherapy is, well, yes, you can take it to mean a conventional therapist-patient relationship like we see in the world, where someone seeks out a licensed clinical social worker or a counselor or a trained professional therapist for help. We can also choose to see this as a teacher-student relationship. That's an option as well, because I know that some of you may be involved in conventional psychotherapy, in conventional therapy, and others may not. And maybe some of you who are not have done it in the past. Actually, I've done it in the past. For several years, in fact, I was a, patient, so-called, right, in a conventional therapist situation. This was preceding and immediately following a divorce that I went through back in the mid 2000s. So I'm familiar with the relationship, and enter A Course in Miracles several years later. We have the potential to make any relationship that we involve ourselves in holy. We have the ability and the potential, and we also have the explicit invitation to do it here, to make any relationship holy. So what in fact does that mean? Well, it means we invite the Holy Spirit into it. The Holy Spirit will direct the show. It'll direct the show if we invite it and let it. And say him too. Him, it. I'll use them interchangeably. Naturally, the Holy Spirit's not a human being. So pronouns such as him, her, they may not really truly apply. So use whichever you will for this. The Holy Spirit's not a human being, which means technically it's an it, isn't it? Capital I, though, for sure. Yeah. As your inner teacher, as the voice for God, as the universal inspiration, the answer, and all of the other beautiful and powerful names given to the Holy Spirit in this course. Oh, yeah, yeah. So the purpose of psychotherapy, as we looked at, is to remove the blocks to truth. The process is gradual most often, and it's all about having the student, i.e., the patient, change their idea about themselves, to change their concept of self. That's the process. And well, naturally, in this short supplement, Jesus doesn't prescribe an exact way to do it. As you know, there are many therapeutic modalities in the world. There are many different schools of thought, many different approaches, and much debate amongst professionals about which practices are the best practices, which should be undertaken at a certain time in a certain situation, that sort of thing. Normal for the world for there to be a whole lot of disagreement, right? And layers of complication. Oh, I know, right? Yeah. Well, so when we seek out a teacher, when we seek out a therapist, when we seek professional help, we want to get something. So this is where Jesus comments on what people most often want to get. And it is a better form of illusion. We'll talk about this. And my hope is that when we're through discussing it in a couple of minutes, this will make a little bit more sense. If you think about it, and I invite you to do that, this is what most people want when they approach a professional, like a coach, like a therapist, like a minister or counselor, a spiritual teacher. They want to keep their self concept only better. They want a better form of the illusion. They want to manifest more money. They want a hot, sexy lover or a villa in Tuscany, all of which are wonderful things in the world. They want more of the same, only better. And by same, I mean illusion. Enter a teaching like A Course in Miracles, and it may seem completely radical to you. You may not have heard or ever entertained the idea that you're not a body. The central teaching of A Course in Miracles, and there are a couple of places where Jesus comes right out and says, there is no world. I repeat, there is no world. Who's ready to accept that when they're in a state of agony and frustration and dealing with all of the crap that life dishes out, apparently foists upon us? Who's ready, really, at the outset to accept that we're bringing all of the crap on ourselves and everything we see is a reflection of what's going on in here? Who's really ready for that right off the bat? What we're often motivated by is a better experience within the dream. A house in Ventura County, make it $1 million+ house, a sexy car, some tasty food, and a vacation villa in Tuscany. I don't know. I guess I'm thinking about that, aren't I? It's come up twice. It's those kinds of things. Why? Because most of us don't come into a student-teacher relationship with the stated goal of abandoning and setting aside the ego, of letting it go. We don't come in wishing to get rid of our self-concept entirely and replace it entirely with a different thought system, do we? So this is where we're always invited to, as adults, check our motivation as we engage in practice. Now, here's something that's very, very important. If you are a spiritual teacher, as I am, and if you're a counselor yourself, I know a number of you are, or you play this role, whether you have a professional degree and a professional practice, a brick and mortar business or an online business, doesn't really matter, because ultimately we're all teaching and we're all learning from each other. Now, if you have a professional context, or doesn't have to be official, an unofficial context, as that person, maybe you're that woman or that guy that people come to with their stuff. I'm one of those. That's no mistake that I've ended up right here. It's no mistake, because people have always felt like they could tell me everything, and they do. So some of you may be in that position. So it's an opportunity for us to check our own motivation, isn't it? What do we look for in the relationship? Are we holding out some hope that we're going to change someone's mind, that will wave a magic wand, Obi-Wan Kenobi style, Yoda style, and create some massive change in the level of form? Are we holding out that we're going to do it? We, little self, is going to do it. That's quite common, isn't it? Especially at the outset of a relationship. How can this be adjusted? Well, invite the Holy Spirit into it. Invite the Holy Spirit to run the show. That's how. It makes of the relationship a holy relationship. Now, the person that you're working with, if you're a teacher, your student may still firmly believe in the illusion and firmly be seeking a better illusion, a Mercedes Benz. New, of course, with all the bells and whistles. Or they may be seeking for a better job, or more clarity in their career, or more clarity in a relationship. And they've tried other things that haven't worked for them. What they're responding to is the Holy Spirit. They're responding to this call that maybe they're not consciously aware of. That's entirely possible, isn't it? Have you ever found yourself in a teacher-student relationship, in a therapeutic relationship, or a relationship with a coach, something like that, where you didn't really know why you were there? I mean, really, have you ever been in that situation where you got to this place and you thought, well, how did I get here? what? What am I doing here? I don't really know, but I just know that I need to be here right now. It's a great place to be. And if you're there, I invite you to just be open to whatever comes, because every time, we'll take these videos for example, every time I turn on the camera, I don't know what I'm going to say. I have no idea. But there's going to be something that you need to hear. And you may have already heard it, and maybe you have not, but there's going to be something. And it's this urge within all of us to seek help, because we do, don't we? I mean, this is big. If you're in a place where you're getting ready to reach out to a coach or a mentor, a therapist, a spiritual teacher, if you're in that place where you're thinking about it, I invite you to do it. This is the urge that all of us have to ask for help. It's very important to undoing the ego, isn't it? Sometimes we don't need to ask a human teacher, sometimes we do. But it's the underlying essence of this, the content, that's the same no matter what the outward form may take. It's Of myself, I can do nothing. And deep down, we truly realize this because all of these schemes that we've concocted haven't worked. Have they created lasting, eternal happiness? And do they guarantee peace for all, everything that lives throughout time? There is no time. Have they helped you to permanently attain the peace of God? And when we realize, no, they haven't, then it's very important to ask for help. And we do this constantly. We're invited to do this every day. Ask your inner teacher for guidance. Of myself, I can do nothing. When we try to arrange everything in the world of the ego, the world of form, inevitably something goes wrong. It's inevitable because nothing lasts. And we may experience some massive contentment for a while. You might be fabulously rich. Maybe you're not. You might have $1 million home. Maybe you don't. Everything comes and goes in this world, especially this thing. Yeah, doesn't it? Right? Nothing in this world ever stays the same. So when we involve ourselves in attempting to orchestrate and manipulate it, inevitably something happens that we don't intend, and we become frustrated or angry or sad, yeah, or anxious, possibly depressed. The process of spirituality is about changing your mind about yourself. So, whatever your goal is coming into a student teacher relationship, understand that ultimately it's about changing your mind about yourself. Some ideas you may not be able to accept or even be willing to accept. I mean, you may reject categorically the ideas that you're not a body, because you're not. There is no world. There isn't. Looks like one, right? This course is, in fact, radical. Here in the world, it's completely radical. It turns it on its head deliberately. So, question for you, because you're watching, you're ready for this. How far are you willing to go? We can certainly ask ourselves this. The genius of A Course in Miracles is it is a self-study curriculum. You can actively practice other spiritual traditions at the same time as you do this course. Oh yeah, of course you can. It is something where you take what you want to take, what you're called to take at a given time. Maybe you put it down for a month or several years even. Again, nothing's ever lost. Nothing is ever wasted on the spiritual path, period, ever. This is the genius of this course, is its self-study. No one's telling you you must do anything. We're certainly inviting you to do this course, but no one's forcing you. There's no threat of punishment or eternal damnation. There is no sin. There's no separation of any kind. Some part of you is ready to entertain these ideas. I know. Remember, there's no separation of any kind. Some part of you is ready to contemplate this, and you may actively reject it or you may accept it full on. Either way, or anything in between, doesn't matter. There's a part of you that's ready to hear this. So we're invited in this course to want the peace of God and only the peace of God. There's absolutely nothing wrong with a new Mercedes-Benz. There's absolutely nothing wrong with a Tuscan villa or a hot, sexy love affair. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. Lots of money, nothing wrong with that. We're invited in this course to seek the peace of God and only that. The interesting thing is when we learn to relax and trust our inner teacher, we find that we're given everything we need. So, this course operates on the mind. It does not operate on the level of form. It doesn't operate on the level of business or Lamborghinis or Tuscany or Greece. It doesn't operate on that level. Those things may or may not come as a result of this course. But when you do, really do this course, what does come is the peace of God. That's what we invite you to seek. All right. Thank you all for joining me. Have a beautiful day, beautiful evening, wherever you are, whatever time it is when you're watching this. Thank you all for tuning in, and I will see you again soon.